Today on the 1-0 Sports Show, we talk about Texas' first-ranked match of the Big 12 this weekend. The NFL season continues to get even crazier, and yep, Dame decided to take his talents to Milwaukee, so you know we're going to talk about that. All that and more coming up on the 1-0 Sports Show.
Texas finally 1-0, finally riding for the brand.
And I'm getting back on my soapbox saying that if they just hit and rap and drive, then that play doesn't happen.
You heard it here first from Hunter. Book your plane tickets to Omaha today.
But we're not done yet.
No, shot. You're not serious.
Are you kidding me? So that's the third time.
That's terrible. Did you believe this was possible at the beginning of the season?
Oh, I always believe.
Always drink the Kool-Aid.
Today's show is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everything in between. Plan your ride at this weekend's game at capmetro.org. Well, with that being said, we kick off another 1-0 Sports Show. I'm Michael Alvarez. I'm joined by my co-host here, Santiago. Ortiz, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How you doing, Michael?
You know, it's not too bad. You know, it's always fun waking up early on Friday mornings, come out here and talk about some sports. So,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
let's get right into it. We'll start off today's show with how we always do, with who's hot and who's not. Who's hot for you this week?
For me, the Lions. They got a big win last night on Thursday Night Football, beating the Packers in Lambeau Field. You know, the NFC North serious division, lots of rivalries. But the Lions, they've come out strong this year. They got a win on the road versus the Chiefs in Kansas City. And their only loss has been to the Seattle team in overtime in a tough game. But they're winning games and they're dominating teams. They're out here with, they have a meaning behind their team. They got Dan Campbell out here biting kneecaps, taking everything with them. So I believe in the Lions. I think this team is going to win the NFC North. They're a strong front runner. I mean, they look really good, and they're just dominating. And this is rare for the Lions. You know, been a really, poverty team over the last few years. But, hey, they're doing real good this year. I believe in the Lions. I'm on the bandwagon.
I mean, I have to agree with that. I mean, they've been pretty mediocre until the midway through last season when they decided to pick it up randomly. And like you said, the North is very weak this year.
They won 11 out of their last 14 games.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
that's
hot.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely the front runner in that division for the first time, probably ever. Not ever, but in a long time.
Probably.
maybe ever. But if I'm going to take mine, I got to go for my hot or the Miami team, the Miami football teams.
Yes, sir.
I mean, Miami, for some reason, the state of Florida in this last kind of sports, starting with basketball, has been insanely hot. Go to the NBA, go to two teams
in the
make
Final
it in the
Four.
Final Four. Yeah, I mean, and then now you got both Miami football teams starting off 4-0. I mean, that Miami team, which a lot of people were sleeping on, just hopped with that big win over A&M in week 2. Are 4-0. They hop at 18 right now, and then you want to talk about the Dolphins, who just came off a 70-20 win over the Broncos. Those poor I don't know what's going on. Sean Payton, I thought he was the answer. I don't know what they're doing in Denver, but we might get into that later in the show. But yeah, I mean, right now I got to go with the football teams. I don't know who's going to lose first. I mean, Miami has Georgia Tech this week, so I mean, I think that's a big win, easy win for them. But then you got Miami, the Dolphins going into to play the Bills, so that's definitely gonna be their biggest matchup so far this year. But yeah, right now those are my two hot teams. Who's not for you?
Going right off of that, my who's not is the Denver Broncos. I mean, the first team to allow 70 points since in the World War II era. So I mean, it's been a long time coming. But you have players out here talking about all they've done is lose. Sean Payton's out here yelling at reporters. It's just a mess. I mean, look at this ball by Russell Wilson. Not sure where he's throwing the ball to. And on the defense, I mean, look, breaking tackles everywhere. Can't even catch a guy. I mean, I know Raheem Mostert is fast, but come on, we got to be better than that. And it's just about the culture in Denver. I mean, since this team has won the Super Bowl, they haven't had a winning season, and it looks like that's going to continue this year. And so the ownership has they've really done a nice job. They've went out there, they've paid players, they've got Russell Wilson, they traded for Sean Payton. I mean, you can't blame the ownership. At some point, the coaching, the players, they need to step it up. And this is a team with a fan base that's very passionate. They have a lot of support behind their fan base, and it's just kind of sad to see them, be so bad.
Yeah, I mean, being a Raiders fan myself, for whatever reason, I thought we were going to be the worst team in that division, and then the Broncos continue to do Bronco things, apparently, ever since Peyton Manning won them their last Super Bowl, Super Bowl 50. But we'll get away from the Broncos. They've heard enough of our criticism. Let's give them a break for once. And I'm going to go with my who's not team. I'm going to go with Colorado, who last time was on the show was my hot team because they started off this season really hot. They hopped in the rankings early with that big win over TCU. The hype was real. I mean, every time, like right now, if you looked at Twitter and Instagram recently, it was just Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift for Colorado. So, I mean, those were the big things you saw on social media. But the whole reason I don't think they're hot was they go to play Oregon. Definitely their biggest test of the year, and they lose 42-6. Or 42, whatever, 42-6, yeah, whatever it was. It was not a pretty game. I mean, the spread was 21 points. I had a feeling that they were gonna lose probably by 2 scores, but I thought they were gonna somehow keep it close. I mean, obviously losing Travis Hunter, which is your biggest offensive threat and your defensive threat, definitely hurts. I mean, Shedeur Sanders had no time in the pocket. He couldn't find a way to get out. He's not a scrambling quarterback, and that really showed last week in that big loss. I mean, they came into the stadium talking a lot of hot stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was definitely they did not put their game where their mouth was, and they are definitely the not who's hot. Hopefully they can turn it around. I do love that team. I do love Deion Sanders. So I mean, yeah, that team. That team's definitely something I do want them to succeed going in the future.
They have a tough schedule ahead of them. I mean, they still have to play USC, still have to play Washington. Pac-12 is a really good conference this year, and so it's going to be really tough for them. They're going into a gauntlet for the rest of the season.
Oh, yeah. And then moving on, we talk about what I thought was the biggest surprise I've seen in a long time, way bigger than LeBron's choice to go to South Beach, was Damian Lillard was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks this Wednesday in a 3-team deal that saw Drew Holiday and DeAndre Orton get sent to Portland and Yusuf Nurkic get sent to Phoenix. Who won the trade? Who do you think won the trade? And do you think the Bucks are finals contenders now?
Man, I think the Bucks by far won the trade. I mean, especially looking at what the Heat wanted, or what the Trailblazers wanted from the Heat for Dame, and what the Bucks had to give up. They really won this trade, only giving up Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen basically, and 2029 first-round pick. I mean, those kids are in middle school right now. We don't even know who they are yet, but. The Bucks, I mean, this is just game-breaking for them. They've had Drew Holiday, which he is very serviceable, great defender, but to open up that offense, which is what I think you saw them struggle with last year against the Heat, when they got 5 games as the number 1 seed, losing at home. So I think it's really hard not to call them the title favorites right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good take, especially with the fact that Damian Lillard is finally what I think that team was missing was a really clutch guard play, someone you can really rely on to get in the clutch. I mean, Chris Middleton is a great player, don't get me wrong, but that's not his forte, is to go and win you a game. You give them ball late in the hands, you go win you a game. That's what I think a big thing Milwaukee was missing, and now if it comes to a clutch time, I think they have a much better chance to win those tight games, which does push them over the edge a little bit in my opinion. And then DeAndre Ayton and Drew Holiday. I mean, Drew Holiday definitely like you said, very serviceable player for the Bucks in their 2021 championship. But I mean, I don't even think he stays in Portland too long. I think he hops into a trade block. Drew, you can come to LA. We'll happily take you if you want to come to LA. And Ayton, I mean, he always seemed like. I mean, to start off, I don't want to throw any shade to him. He's probably 20-something. He looks 40. But poor guy's not going to age too well. But, yeah, I mean, DeAndre Ayton, he played really well for the Suns. I mean, but obviously they haven't found a way to get over that hump. Now they obviously have Kevin Durant.
And then, I mean, if we're being honest, he didn't want to play for the Suns. Last year, he wanted to be out. He wanted to sign with a new team, signed a contract with the Pacers. Yeah. But then the Suns decided to match his contract, didn't really want to be there. And he had a lot of issues with effort, which hopefully is something that you see him pick back up with the Blazers.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I mean, also going back into it, I think Milwaukee really fleeced Portland here. I mean, not giving up anything for a star player like that. But, I mean, I guess Portland's definitely in the rebuild mode. So I feel like I think they'll keep DeAndre Ayton, but they're going to do something with Drew Holiday because he's 33. I mean, they're like, there's no reason to keep him. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, I do think the Bucks are definitely final contenders of the East because I think the East isn't looking very strong like the West is. So, I mean, the West is really a toss-up. The East is probably 2 teams, probably the Celtics and the Bucks.
Even we saw it last year. It's still like people are sleeping on the Nuggets. I mean, they want a final, they want a championship, but people are still kind of underrating them. Jokic, really just unstoppable. I mean, when you look out there, you're like, I could go out there and play defense against this guy, but every single shot just throws it right in there. So it's going to be an exciting NBA season whenever they tip off.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's in a few days, actually. They start some preseason, so, I mean, yeah, I'm really excited for that. I love basketball. But moving on, we talk about some baseball. As the MLB is a week until playoffs start, who are your favorites in each conference to make it to the World Series?
All right, I got in the NL. I have to go with the Braves.
Mhm.
I mean, they're by far like the
Best team
most
in baseball.
dominant team.
Yeah.
I think it's basically them and everybody else. But for the AL though, I'm gonna go with the Astros. I know it's a surprise pick. Not really much logic behind that pick, but I'm kind of just going with the Astros because they're the hometown team. Love the Astros. I don't know if we have too much of a chance this year, but we still have lots of veteran players on this team, even from the 2017 championship. They had a strong series against the Mariners just a few days ago.
Mhm.
But, yeah, I got to believe in the Astros. Got to believe in Dusty. We're going to still run it back. I got the faith. But I don't know if it's there. But I think it's basically the Braves and everybody else right now. If you're really seriously looking at it, they're by far the best team. Analytically, the eye test, they pass everything.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I mean, I had to say for the NL, I had to say it's also the Braves. I think they're definitely the strongest team in baseball, definitely the strongest team in that division, so there's not much to talk about them there. When you go to the AL, it's definitely more of a toss-up. But the AL West it's quite a story if you look at it right now. I mean, a couple of days ago, the Astros were the favorite to win and be the second seed, and right now the Rangers are 2 games ahead of them, with only a few games left to go. So I mean, yeah, the Rangers. I have to go with the Rangers. I mean, yeah, they have that offense. I mean, that offense is something serious. The last couple they came with a big, impressive series over the Mariners, and they dropped one of the Angels. But I mean, that team is very impressive to me. Their offense is very potent. They find a way to score a lot of points. But the thing that does scare you is the bullpen. That's been their biggest struggle this season. I mean,
Even before Scherzer was out.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, if they can find a way. That's when not having a good bullpen in the playoffs can definitely hurt you. But I mean, if they can find a way to hide that with their scoring ability, then I have a big feeling the Rangers can really come out on top of that division. So yeah, definitely look out for some baseball. Something I don't usually watch, but when the World Series comes around, I do flip it on.
Yes, sir.
Because it's always good to watch playoff any sport, to be honest. So I mean, it's just something I look forward to. But that's all we got for this segment. Coming up, we have one of our favorite segments on the show is our Versus. We will be joined by Gabriel Silva. He'll come on to judge. You won't want to miss it. Coming up on the Wanna Know Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Wanna Know Sports Show. We are now joined by Gabriel Silva. How are you doing this morning?
Doing pretty good. Barely got some sleep last night, but I'm ready to hop on as a guest here.
Let's
Judge some highlights.
judge some plays. Let's get right into it. All right, so for the best college football play, what do you have this week, Mike?
So I got to go with what I think was the best game of the weekend, which was Ohio State Notre Dame, and Mitchell Evans with the one-handed snag here. It's definitely something. It was early in the game. He didn't even think the ball was coming to him. I guess he kind of just turned instantly and kind of just tucked into his arms there. So I thought that was a really good play. I came and saw what next play was coming up, and I was like, yeah, that's going to be hard to beat, so we'll just hop into that one real quick.
Yeah, so for this week, I had Ricky Pearsall from Florida. Right
Jesus
here,
Christ.
he's going up for the one-handed catch and takes the
my
hit, boom,
God.
holds onto the ball. He just grabbed it out of the air like it was a Frisbee. I mean, that's impressive right there. The strength that takes to not only catch the ball, but to get hit by two guys and just, get right back up. That was an impressive catch. Shades of Odell Beckham Jr. right there.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he caught it, brought it in, and still took two contact without losing it all is that's definitely impressive.
That was a nice play by him.
So, who you got?
I have to go with Santiago's here.
I'm gonna have to agree with you there.
That's just an amazing play there that the Florida receiver made, Ricky Pearsall. One-handed catch, difficult angle, taking the big hit. It is just a good play all around.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Avnem. I'm actually going to agree with you there. That's a great play. I don't know if that was definitely going to be hard to beat this week.
All right, and then we have the NFL. All right, for the NFL this week, I had University of Texas alum Andrew Beck right here for the Houston Texans.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, he had a nice play. He's going to take it all the way back to the house, 90 yards. You see right here, he gets the kick. At first, he muffs it. Looks like a disaster. I mean, you don't know where he's going. He's surrounded. Cuts back. Reverses field, and now he's got the angle. He's going. He's just got the kicker to beat, and then you can say good night to it. Andrew Beck all the way, 90 yards to the house. I mean, for that big of a guy moving like that, look at that right there. I mean, that is dangerous when you have that speed out there, and I couldn't believe it. I had no idea that this guy had this in him, but I wish he could have done that at Texas, but that was a great play from Andrew Beck.
Yeah, that's a big shocker right there. I have to agree. I mean, Andrew Beck is definitely not the fastest guy in the field, and the fact that he outran that defense is quite insane on its own. But I had to move to the Bucks Philly game, where this wouldn't have been a highlight if Baker Mayfield wasn't so bad, but it's Mike Evans. If he threw it in front of him, it's not even a highlight. But he goes up there, he snags it, he takes it from behind. He's thinking about to fall down. He makes the catch. Mike Evans has been very impressive this week. Has been very impressive this year in fantasy. I went against him last week and he torched me. Luckily, Keenan Allen's on my team and he is the best receiver in fantasy for some reason. So yeah, that's my big play of the week.
Who do you got, Gabriel?
This is a really tough one. A fullback going on a 90-yard kickoff return is really crazy, but I think this is the week of one-handed catches, so I'm going to go with the Mike Evans highlight. Again, tough angle, behind the ball's behind him. He just puts his big paw up there and snags it, takes the hit. He's in the air for a couple more seconds after he catches the ball. So I'm going to have to go with Mike's highlight here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even going to be a highlight. Like I said, Baker Mayfield can throw a good ball, but I'm glad he didn't, so I took the win there. But,
OU's finest, Baker Mayfield. Moving into MLB for this week, I had Sean Murphy for the Braves. Right here, he's got this home run, up to bat, normal home run, until you realize his bat snapped in half.
Oh
I mean, look at that going behind him all the way up out into the bullpen. And look at the strength. I mean, it takes, I don't think a normal human can do that. Just snap the bat right in half. I mean, look at that. That was just visually appealing to me, so I went with that one right there.
Yeah, that's a lot of power behind that. I mean, those bats do break often, but usually not like that. I mean, usually it breaks on contact, but apparently when he finished the swing, that's when it decided to snap off there. Yeah. So that definitely is impressive on its own. I got to go with Tatis Fernando, and he steals a home run here. My most impressive thing is he waits for it and verts it. Waits for it and verts it. It was pretty impressive. So they had to come back, tag up at first. They don't get any runs. They don't get any advances there. And then at the end, he does his little dancey dance here. Hold on, it's going to pop up in a second. Do my little dancey dance. Yeah, little gritty action. Yeah, that's why I like that play a lot. The most impressive thing I saw out there was the fact that he stopped for a second and then it was a vert jump. So that's why I had to go with that
nice play.
These were two really good highlights again. Sean Murphy's home run. I mean, it was just a home run, but the strength that he had to break the bat at the same time. I think I've only seen that once, where it just snaps in half like that after a swing. But I'm gonna have to go with Fernando Tatis's robbery, because the Padres, even though it's they're still in a playoff race, even though they were up 9-0. but they're still trying to cling on to anything. So a good play like that by Tatis can really
Goes
help
a
them
long
out.
way.
Yeah.
All right, moving into the worst bloopers. What did you have this week, Mike?
It goes worst ref mistake, which is always hard to find, always fun to find, and then biggest blooper, which is definitely my favorite. But I got to go with Caleb Williams not being ready for the snap here in their game. Look, if you kind of go back, it'll show it again. He definitely took a beating to the wrong spot there, and you definitely felt it there. He's just, I don't think anyone was ready on this play. He comes in, he's talking, he's like, oh yeah, I don't think we're ready. Let's just call it. Takes it right to the spot you don't want to take it, and and he kind of just like the funny part. He sits there for a second. He tries to get up and then he goes right back down. I think we can all have some type of correlation to that, and how that one feels.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to go with there. I thought that one was pretty funny.
All right, for my biggest blooper, it's not as funny, but it's definitely a big blooper. I got Marcus Freeman in Notre Dame. The last play of the game, you only have 10 players on the field. I mean, it's unacceptable. Coming out of a timeout, and that's how you lose a game. Ohio State, they ran it right into the gap where Notre Dame would have had their last player on the field. And I mean, that's unacceptable. You cannot lose a game coming out of a timeout due to a coaching error like having 10 players on the field. I think if we listen to what Marcus Freeman had to say, it makes it even worse. So if we could listen to that really quickly.
Yeah, we were trying to get a fourth D lineman on the field, and I told him to stay off because we can't afford a penalty. I didn't have any timeouts, right? So we couldn't afford a penalty there.
So I mean, Marcus, you can afford to have a half-yard penalty on the goal line. You cannot afford a touchdown. The half-yard, they're on the 1 yard line. The ball's not even going to move. You can afford that. You cannot afford a touchdown. So we need to be better, Notre Dame. That lost us the game. You guys still have lots of good things ahead of you. Still can play USC at home, get a win there. But that's the biggest blooper for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw that there was their last two plays, they only had 10 people on the field.
Yeah.
So I was like, what are you doing? This is the biggest part of the game. I don't know what you're doing, but
the question, it really says, biggest mistake, biggest blooper. I mean, the biggest mistake of the weekend is obviously going to be the Notre Dame game. 10 men on the field, high intensity situation, top 10 matchup at home, and you decide to leave a player off the field multiple times. So I think that's the biggest blooper of this past week. So I'm gonna have to go with the Notre Dame highlight.
Unfortunate for the Irish.
Yeah, so 2 and 2 come in, so this last one's gonna take it, and it was quite the flip here on what we usually don't put on this show. But go ahead and tell us what we got going on.
All right, we moving into volleyball. All right, for my volleyball highlight, I had Hawaii versus California State. Right here, you have Kaylin Alexander looking in the middle. She saves this one right off the ground. All of her teammates, they're on the ground, and she gets another one right back at her, moving back into the full court. And you got some sideline action right here. But this is what volleyball is all about. You got a good rally, good defense, Kaylin right back there at it, and then there's the kill right there. So good play by Hawaii. I mean, just to go get this off the ground is impressive. And then she comes right back at her, and she gets it again. I really like this play. I thought that was a nice play right there.
Yeah, you definitely did a big dig in there. I mean, mine's definitely. I don't watch a lot of volleyball, so I just took the hometown favorite here. Madison Skinner flying in, delivering a strike like she's LeBron on the baseline. She has quite the athleticism on this. If this quickly pops up, but I mean, throughout it was part of the 3-0 sweep of the Sooners. Might have a little problems there, and then she kind of just comes. You'll see her. She comes flying in real quick. And just
that looks
rips
like
it right down to her. I mean, I was going through a lot of plays here, and I was like, I like this one because if you watch the game, she killed them all game. I mean, Madison Skinner's a dog, so nothing crazy to expect from there. And I mean, the way she came in and just sent that one down, it just reminded me of young LeBron.
That looked like LeBron blocking Iguodala.
Yeah, so I mean, I just had to go with it. I had to go with the hometown favorite. So this is whatever it takes right here.
This is really a toss-up. I don't watch a lot of volleyball either, but the action in Santiago's highlight was probably a little bit better. I mean, multiple times they dive on the court just to keep it alive. They get it over. She's barely getting off of her dive, and she's already getting the ball sent right back to her. So, I'm going to have to go with that one.
Yeah, she never even got off the ground. It came right back to her. So,
yeah,
I mean,
that was impressive for sure.
Yeah, I had to agree with that one. So, I mean, tough loss here. A big, great showings here. Great
showdown. Thank you for joining us, Gabriel. And we'll have you back on later to get some pick'ems. But, all right, that's it for this block. Don't forget to come back. We'll be talking more Texas athletics when we're back.
Good morning and welcome back to the One No Sports Show. If you're just now joining us, I'm Michael Alvarez. This is Santiago Ortiz, and we are now talking about what everyone loves in the 40 acres, some Texas athletics. And we hop right into it. We're going to talk a lot about the football team here, and it's going to be quite exciting to have the team how they've been shaping up this year. So we'll get right into it with the first 4 weeks in. Who do you think has been the MVP for Texas offense and Texas defense?
So yeah, besides the obvious pick of Quinn Ewers, I have to go with our X factor. At first it was Xavier Worthy, but I think now it's turning into Jatavion Sanders. This guy, he's come out here this season and he's really improved. I mean, he had a lot of potential coming out of high school, but he's opened up the passing game a lot for us. We saw it against Bama. He's leading the team in receiving yards. And when he's going, the whole team is going. You have play actions, and he's really good. He's really improving his blocking. I think it's really important that Texas, they have to flow the offense through him. I mean, he's such a mismatch. You got him making all these types of one-handed catches, just disrespecting defenders. I mean, number 20, get off of him right there. That's a great highlight. Jatavion Sanders, he gets me fired up. I think he's been the quiet MVP on offense for Texas.
I have to agree with you there. Jatavion Sanders is definitely a great player. I love him. I love that offense. I just love this team. I'll just be honest with you. They're very exciting to watch. And then for my offense MVP, I'm going to go with Jonathan Brooks, strictly because a lot of people thought that since with Bijan Rojan leaving for the NFL, our running game was just going to drop and it was going to be bad. But right now, when you look into it, he has 3 touchdowns on the year. He had a big game last week against Baylor, and he's actually on pace for what. I think he's about 400 yards. He's on pace for what this time of the year what Bijan was at. So I mean, he has a chance to really just keep breaking out. I mean, he's found a way to keep it. He's found a way to keep our offense intact here. So I mean, I definitely had to go with Jonathan Brooks there. But who do you have on defense?
On defense, we're moving into the more veteran players on this team, and so I have Jaylen Ford as the MVP on defense. I think he's just really stepped up as this leader on this team. He's leading the team in tackles, tied for interception, and he's really showed up as a strong player. He decided to come back after a strong season last year where he could have gone to the NFL, but he's just dominant out there. I mean, you look at this goal line interception against Baylor, that play, exciting play right there. They go all the way down the field and then stop him right in the end zone. He gives him a little Dikembe no right there. But yeah, Jaylen Ford for me has to be the strong MVP on this defense.
Yeah, I mean, Jaylen Ford's he's he's definitely a ball hawk. I mean, he finds a way to. I mean, I think I'm sure he had 7 or 8 interceptions last year, and I think he has 2 in the season already here. He really knows where to be when that ball goes over the middle. So I really do love Jaylen Ford too. I'm gonna flip to what I think has been the strongest part of Texas' defense this year, which is the front 5, that D line, and I'm gonna go with the second biggest guy on the team. I think their leader, T'Vondre Sweat, who's really this season has really boosted his draft stock. I mean, every game now they're having to start doubling him, which opens up more room for Darren Swirl to come in, and then you got Ethan Burke on the Ethan Burke rushing the edge. So I mean that front 5 has really been something special. I mean, T'Vondre Sweat, he doesn't lead the team in tackles or sacks, but his pressure and his presence and what forcing double teams opens up more to the defense, opened up more to the defensive line, and that's really what's been very impressive. He's been very impressive to me, and I just want to fun fact, I have party with the guy, so I mean, you think he's big on the field, you stand next to him, he looks like a giant bear. So I mean, he's just a heck of a presence, and that's who my defensive favorite is this year. And then moving into this upcoming weekend, big battle of the undefeateds, big 12 matchup here. We got to take on Kansas. What do you think Texas needs to do to avoid this upset?
Yeah, so for Texas this week, for me, we got to be throwing the deep ball and containing Jaden Daniels. I mean, we all know what he can do in the running game, but it's really more about containing the check down. So we've had Texas in the Sark era. They've struggled with fast quarterbacks that can check it down. You saw it with UTSA's quarterback Frank Harris or with Michael Penix last year in the bowl game. But we've had, teams with good offenses that can check it down. It's kind of a struggle for Texas. So we also have to air it out. I mean, you see when Texas is really going, that deep ball is hitting. And against a strong secondary like Kansas, we're going to have to hit on some deep balls and going to have to just contain Jaden Daniels in the pocket.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. Definitely the deep ball and the contain Daniels. I got to say my biggest points here definitely have a fluent offense. I mean, you can see this team a lot this year. They can struggle on the offense end for sure, and the defense has found very big ways to pick that up. They had a really good game, really good showing against Baylor last week, but then the week before Wyoming, it definitely wasn't a pretty game. So, I mean, definitely the slow start against Rice. So this offense really can struggle. But I think if they can find fluent there, they can definitely win this game by 2 scores and obviously contain Daniels. I mean, you got to kind of take him the same way you took Jalen Milroe. I just think he's definitely more experienced. He can definitely cause more problems. But we did a very good job containing Milroe. So, I mean, I think they can do the same with Daniels. They can force him into bad throws. And, like, he gets a lot of time in the pocket. I don't think our defense line's going to let that happen. And then obviously get off the field on 3rd down. I'm not saying they've struggled this year on getting off the field on 3rd down, but Kansas has the #1 conversion rate on 3rd down this season in the FBS. So, I mean, that's definitely something to look out for there. So, yeah, that's probably the biggest points for our this game against Kansas. I'm really excited to watch, by the way. And then finally, the last thing we'll talk about this segment is Big 12 basketball. They just dropped their season schedule. Their last time in the Big 12. It's gonna be a heck of a ride. What game are you looking forward to the most?
So for the reigning Big 12 champion Texas Longhorns, the game I'm looking to most is Texas versus U of H. Now, this is kind of a personal one for me. I personally think U of H is overrated every single year. I think that they beat up on lots of cupcake teams, and this year they're going to have to face a real gauntlet in the Big 12. So I'm excited. I mean, even last year, they were a #1 seed. They lost to Miami in the Sweet 16. So I'm super excited to just beat U of H, prove that the Big 12 is a premier conference, that these teams are overrated, they don't belong in Power 5, and moving on to the SEC, will be looking pretty good for Texas.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. Definitely their first time playing Houston in the conference. Last time they'll play Houston in conference, and first time I think they play Houston. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be the Houston team. They do find a way. They have talent on the roster. I'm not going to say I do believe they're a little overrated every year, but they're definitely still a talented team. That's something to look out for. My biggest matchup, though, is finally the two reigning Big 12 champions, the regular season and the conference champion, and the tournament champion, I mean, is Kansas. They only play them once this year, which is pretty sad, on February 4th at Allen Fieldhouse. And so it's going to be that's always a favorite game because that Kansas team is definitely a blue blood. They're definitely a strong basketball team for sure. And I think it's going to be sad when we leave the conference, not be able to play them anymore. But I mean, we still have the SEC challenge, still can play them then. But I mean, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this game. We play them once this year. Hopefully, our team can keep the success they had last year, and we'll probably maybe see this team later on in the year. So I mean, yeah, my biggest thing would probably definitely be that Kansas matchup on February 4th. Do not want to miss that. But that's all we have for this block. Moving on, we have Kansas sports writer Trenton Kraxner, and he comes on the interview to talk more Kansas Texas football this coming up weekend. You're not going to want to miss it. Coming up on the 1-0 Sports Show. Good morning and welcome back to the 1-0 Sports Show. We are now joined by Kansas sports writer Trenton Kraxner as he comes on to talk about some Kansas-Texas matchup coming up this weekend. Trenton, how you doing this morning?
Pretty good. It's a pretty nice day out. I think that's what we're going to be seeing tomorrow, hopefully in Austin.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're due for a nice sunny and definitely hot game this tomorrow afternoon. So without further ado, we'll get into these first couple questions. What players from Kansas do you think will surprise Texas fans and affect the game positively for the Jayhawks?
Offensively, I'd have to go with Daniel Highshaw. A lot of the main focus is on Devin Neal, who's been fantastic this year. But, Highshaw can spell him for a couple plays on a drive, and he's a real physical runner that he's not going to juke you or spin or anything like that. He's going to run downhill, and he's going to run you over. He's a very physical runner, and he got hurt last year in this game, the 5th game of the year last year at home against Iowa State. He had a hip injury, so, he's came back from that. He's done so well. And then defensively, I'd have to go with defensive end Austin Booker. He transferred in from Minnesota. This is his first year in the program. He is tied for the team lead in sacks with 3.5. He has 4.5 tackles for a loss. He's been fantastic among that defensive line. So defensively, defensive end Austin Booker, and then offensively, running back Daniel Highshaw is going to open some eyes, hopefully, tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm expecting quite a contest from the Jayhawks for sure.
No, hey Trenton. So where do you see Kansas ending up this year in the Big 12?
I think Kansas does end up being a top 5 team.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them ending up in the top 3 perhaps, because outside of this game, the toughest game is we get Oklahoma and K-State at home this year. Otherwise, we have a rather easy schedule outside of these 3 games. So, if KU can win one out of these at least one of the 3 between Oklahoma, Texas, and K-State, they have an outside chance of making it to Arlington, as long as they can take care of business elsewhere. But I think they're definitely a top 5 team. They brought back a lot of their starters on offense and defense, and the experience is shown, and they've looked really good so far through the first 4 games.
Yeah, and then building off what you said right there, after these first 4 games, did you expect Kansas to get ranked, and do you think they deserved it?
I think they did. I was honestly surprised that they were ranked. They do deserve it, but last week there was 7 teams in front of us, and then before being ranked voting-wise, so I didn't think enough teams lost for us to get ranked, but I think this team does deserve to be ranked. They worked hard. And, they've had some impressive showings. Illinois, week 2, was supposed to be a big test at home. That was a good defense that they went up against. They pretty much blew them out. And then BYU is a solid team last week that's very veteran and experienced. And they played a really strong second half offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
All right, Trenton. So who do you think the biggest game factors need to be for Kansas to pull the upset in Austin this Saturday?
I think it comes down to the defense for KU getting enough stops, because 2 years ago when last time KU was in Austin, they won. Texas threw for 400-plus yards and with Casey Thompson. Xavier Worthy had 14 catches, I think 200-plus yards and a couple touchdowns. And so I think it comes down to – and then last year, obviously, came into Lawrence and he ran for 427 yards. So it's just a matter – can the defense get enough stops? Because Kansas – is strong offensively, and the defense has looked improved this year. Can they get enough stops is what's going to come down to, because Kansas can play a shootout with Texas. We've seen it before. It's just a matter of who can get enough defensive stops.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you there. I mean, this could easily be a shootout, or it could easily be a quick 24-17 ball game. So, I mean, moving on from that, what players on Texas do you think could give Kansas trouble this week?
I look at Jatavion Sanders. Last week, KU really struggled to cover BYU's tight end. He had 7 catches for 76 yards. And you look at Sanders, he's the leading receiver yards-wise for Texas. So the linebackers are going to have a tough challenge guarding him. And then for Texas, I think their front 7 is really strong. That's something that the coaches talked about in media availability this week, is the front 7 looks fast, athletic, they have depth, no drop-off for Texas. So can you run the ball against that front 7? of Texas is going to be a big question. And then can you guard Jatavion Sanders? And I mean, obviously Texas has a really good offense, but tight end wise, can you cover the tight end well enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point right there. But lastly, what is your prediction on the game?
As much as I want to say KU is going to win, I think Texas does win this one. I think it's not. I don't think it's going to be a 17-point game like the spread says. I think this is going to be a one-possession game in the final 4 minutes of the game. I'll say 34-27 Texas. As much as I would like to say that KU is going to win, I think they do keep it close and put some respect nationally that they're for real, and that they have an outside chance of making it to Arlington this year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I don't think I saw the spread at 17.5 or 16.5, whatever it is. I don't think that's true. I think Kansas is a very slept-on team, especially in football. I'm always rooting for the Jayhawks, definitely when it comes to football. So, I mean, I can never get mad at that. So, I mean, hey, but Trenton, we really appreciate you coming on this
Thank you,
morning.
Trenton.
That's all we got for you. I'm excited for this game this upcoming weekend, as I assume y'all are too. So, I mean, but that's all we got for this block. Coming up, we have Gabriel comes back on for these pick'ems, and we talk about this week's football and MLB lineup. You don't want to miss it coming up on the 1-0 Sports Show.
And we are back. And for this section, we are joined again by Gabriel. Thank you for coming back on. And we're going to do some pick'ems. So, all right, we're going to start off with the NFL. I think the biggest matchup of this NFL week, we got the Dolphins at the Bills. Who do you got, Mike?
Both these teams, definitely the Dolphins, who I had as my hot team earlier in the show, are definitely a pretty good team, but they're going on the road in Buffalo. And, I mean, the Bills, after their first loss to the Jets, have really picked it up with 2 dominant wins over the Commanders and the Raiders. So, I mean, I really got to go with the Bills in this one.
Yeah, who do you got, Gabriel?
I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. They have, scoring 70 points. I think they're going to be able to, carry the same momentum on offense. I think they're going to get Jalen Waddle back, adding to Tyreek Hill and the running back duo they have with Mostert and Devon Achane. So I think that the Dolphins are going to come away with this one. What about you?
Yeah, I also got the Dolphins. I'm riding the hype train. 70 points is a lot of points, but I know their defense, it's a bit shaky. They have some strong secondary. They lost Jalen Ramsey for about until the playoffs. But I believe in them. I've seen Josh Allen this year. He looked shaky. That game against the Jets was, I think, the worst he's played maybe in a sense before COVID. So he was just throwing up arm punts. But I believe in the Dolphins. If they can contain Josh Allen, make him throw those plays make him have those plays where he just throws it up, I believe that they can get the win.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, we got the Commanders at the Eagles. I think this is going to be a tough game for the Commanders. They struggled last week with the Bills. The high-powered offenses just aren't really good for them, so I got the Eagles coming out on top. But who do y'all have?
I'm going to have to go again with the Philadelphia Eagles. They have, played really good the first couple weeks. Their defense has been outstanding. Their O-line is probably their highlight of the team, especially when you have Jalen Hurts back there. So I think they're going to give the Commanders some problems on offense. So I'm going to have to go with the Eagles. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, no surprise here. Clean sweep. I think Philly definitely the stronger team here. Washington definitely did struggle last week against the Bills. And, I mean, like you said, that stronger offenses really do get them. Philadelphia's team is just really well-rounded. They're really complete. They're also going into Philly. So, I mean, that's never a fun place to play with those fans and how loud and righteous they get. So, yeah, I got to easily go with Philly here for the sweep.
All right, so we're now moving into America's Game of the Week. We have the Denver Broncos at the Chicago Bears. This is the most anticipated game from NFL fans. They're ready to see this game. Who do you got winning this one, Mike?
I think there's one bright side that comes out of this game. One of these teams is finally going to get a win on the year. Both these teams are 0-3. They have definitely had their struggles, their fair set of struggles. With Denver, you saw last week, Jesus, and then the Bears. It's I'm sorry, Tommy. To the Bears, they're just not it, man. So I'm gonna have to go with Denver here. I think they have the better QB play, maybe. So because at least Russell Wilson wants to throw the ball. Zach, when Justin Fields gets the ball, he kind of just looks to run so far of the season. So I got to go with Broncos.
Who you got, Gabriel?
I'm also gonna go with the Denver Broncos. Both these teams have really been a dumpster fire to start the season. Starting off 0-3, Denver gives up 70 points. The Bears get blown out last week by the Chiefs. So, it's a toss-up. I wouldn't be surprised if it ended in a tie, to be honest. That's the only way this game could really go. But if I have to choose a team, I have to choose the Denver Broncos. What about you, Santi?
I don't think anything would be more comedically fulfilling than this game ending in a tie. But I don't foresee that happening. This one's basically a coin toss. You just flip a coin, pick it. If you're going to bet on this game, that's what I would do. But I got the Bears coming out on top. NFC North, I got to believe in Justin Fields. I think that this team, they have to do something. It's been awful. Not only the on-the-field play, but what's been going on behind the scenes. He got a coach getting his house raided by the FBI. Don't really want to get into that. We got that. You have Justin Fields blaming his play on the coaching. It's just an absolute dumpster fire.
Maybe it's the play call.
Yeah, absolute dumpster fire. But I don't know. I think the Denver Broncos, that was a really soul-crushing defeat. So for them, I just got to go with the Bears. I'm going to trust my gut. I think DJ Moore's going to have a big game, and they're going to be able to get it done.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have another team that's been struggling, the New York Jets versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Who do you got in this one, Gabriel?
For this one, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they've started to find their groove now. After the first game, the Jets, after that emotional win against the Bills, they've kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit. And I will also say that for anybody out there, Taylor Swift is going to be in the building, so put anything you have on the Travis Kelce anytime touchdown this Sunday.
I don't think we saw enough Taylor Swift on our Instagram feeds this week. I think I need more content. But anyways, I got to go with Kansas City in this one too. I think they're going to really dominate the time of possession like they did against the Bears. And with the Jets offense, they're really struggling to get off. Even the Chiefs defense doesn't need to be that good to beat this team. They just got to contain the offense a bit, let Patrick Mahomes take the reins, and I think they're going to hammer the over. I think it's not going to be a close one.
Yeah, I mean, I had to go with the sweep here at Kansas City. I mean, the Jets, before the season started, this looked like a pivotal matchup, and then obviously 40 seconds into the season, sadly Aaron Rodgers did go down with an injury that took him out for the year. So, I mean, and then you have Zach Wilson come in, who I'm a Zach Wilson believer, in my opinion. I think he'll finally find a way to turn around, but I don't think it's going to be this game. But that defense, I think the only ways in this game will even be maybe remotely close is if the defense will keep him in it. So, yeah, but I got to go with Kansas City.
Yeah, I hope Zach Wilson figures out a way to get it done. But all right, moving on to Monday Night Football, we have the Seattle Seahawks at the New York Giants. So I'm going to start this one off. I just got to go with the Seahawks. I think, I mean, it's pretty obvious pick. I don't know. Maybe the Giants, they'll bounce back. They had that strong win against the Cardinals, but it's looked really bad for the Giants. I don't know what's going on up there in New Jersey where they actually play. But I think I just got the Seahawks. They had a strong win against Carolina team last week, and I don't think it's going to be very cllose either.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. I mean, the Giants, with Saquon out, this team has definitely had their struggles. I mean, the start of the season, you can look at the first game, 48-0 against a conference rival. I mean, a division rival.
At home.
At home. It's definitely not what you want to see. I think the Seahawks, are a very underrated team. They haven't been as good since, obviously, the Legion of Boom days, but I think they're definitely a team that can flip it around, and I got to go with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with both of y'all here. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks also. I think Geno Smith, he's doing a real good job, keeping Seattle afloat, and even though they're in the same division as the 49ers, it's kind of hard to, win the division there. The Giants, on the other hand, they've struggled a lot. They had the one comeback win against the Cardinals, but, last Thursday night against the 49ers, it wasn't too good. So I'm going to have to go with the Seahawks here.
Yeah, Geno's still not riding back. But anyways, moving on to some college football. We have number 10, Utah, at number 19, Oregon State. Oregon State coming off a loss to Washington State in a shootout. Who do you got for this one, Gabriel?
I'm going to have to go with the Utah Utes. They have, these past few years, they have done a really good job winning these big type of games. This time it looks like they're on the road, going to Corvallis. It's going to be a huge game up there in Oregon. But I think Utah, even if Cam Rising isn't healthy, I still think they're going to be able to pull it away because their backup quarterback has been doing a really good job himself. So, what about you, Mike?
I'm going to have to go with Oregon State here. I mean, this team's a very run-heavy team. I think they have 12 total touchdowns a year on the ground. So, I mean, they have 3 running backs who get heavy carries. So, I mean, I really like this Oregon State team. Utah, though, they are a great team, I have to say. But going on the road is always a tough place to play, especially apparently the Pac-12 is the best conference in football right now. So that's something you want to look out for. And, I'm going to go with Oregon State here.
I bet you sure are. All right, so last week, I picked Oregon State. They were down 35-17 against Washington State, almost came back, lost by 3. And so this week I'm going to have to double down. I'm going to have to double down on my Oregon State pick. Going to take them at home against Utah. I think they're going to bounce back from this win. I got DJ. He's going to throw for at least 4 touchdowns. You can mark that one down. But, yeah, I got Oregon State winning in a very close game. All right, moving on to some SEC play. We have Florida at Kentucky. Who do you got for this one, Mike?
Looking at it, Kentucky is 4-0 and Florida's 3-1, but Florida comes in. After that bad first game, they really flipped it around. I think this Florida team, Kentucky hasn't really played anyone all year, but then right when I said that, I looked at their schedule. The next 4 games are all ranked matchups, especially with Georgia on that schedule. So I mean, it's definitely not going to be pretty for them. But I think Florida comes in here and gets the W.
How about you, Gabriel?
I'm gonna go with a surprise pick. I'm gonna go with Kentucky. I think maybe the only reason that they'll pull it off is because it is in Kentucky. So, they started off 4-0. They haven't really played anybody, but this is where the true gauntlet starts. SEC play is going to start ramping up, and their first test is against Florida. They get it at home, so I'm going to go with Kentucky. Change it up a bit.
I like that pick. Interesting line right there. -1, you don't see that one often. But I just got to go with Florida. I mean, in the last 36 years, they are 33-3 against Kentucky. So they're coming off a strong win against Tennessee 2 weeks ago. I think they're a team with a lot of momentum coming back from that Utah loss. I have to go with Florida winning this one. All right, and for our next game, we have number 13, LSU at Ole Miss. LSU coming off a strong win against Arkansas. Who do you got for that one, Gabriel?
I'm gonna have to go with LSU for this one. You know, their quarterback play has been really good lately. Ole Miss, they have done really good to start the season, and you know this year was probably their best year to beat Alabama, and they laid an egg this past weekend. You know, only scoring 14 points. You know, it'll be exciting to see how they bounce back from it at home against LSU. But I think LSU might be able to take this one away. So.
Yeah, a second ago I had LSU, and then I'm just last second flip. I want to go Ole Miss here. I mean, they at least get the home advantage. I mean, they had very strong showings to start the season. They looked like they were gonna have, like you said, there's a good chance for them to beat Alabama this year. They did kind of lay an egg there. They couldn't stop the run game, but I think they do bounce back here. I think LSU is an overrated team. You saw that against Florida State, and they haven't played anybody really since. They struggled against Arkansas last week, and Arkansas is not a great team. Not a great team in the SEC, so I gotta go Ole Miss here.
Yeah, I have to agree with you too, Mike. I mean, Ole Miss last week, you know, they put up a good fight against Bama. It was going good the first half, but they killed themselves with the penalties. I mean, the penalties awful, shot themselves right in the foot. And at home, I think they're going to put up a good win. They have a strong offense against LSU's, you know, defense, which has been questionable. Harold Perkins, not sure what's happened to him this season, but he's kind of fallen off a cliff. I'm not sure what teams are doing to double team him. But yeah, just got to go with Ole Miss right there. All right, moving on to some ACC play. We have Notre Dame at number 17, Duke. Duke, they've kind of come onto the scene this year with their new quarterback after a win over Clemson at home. Who do y'all got winning this game?
I'm gonna jump in here and I'm gonna say Notre Dame. Like we said, this is the first time I think College Game Day is the first time they've ever gone up to Duke for football for sure. So I mean, that's definitely gonna be an electric environment. But I think Notre Dame, they played really well last week against Ohio State. Tough loss, obviously we talked about it earlier. Mistakes down the end of the line you can't have. But I mean, I think this Notre Dame defense is really strong. Their offense maybe isn't the best, but I think like I said, their defense is a really strong component of their team, and I think they come in here and get the dub.
Yeah, I have to agree with you right there, Mike. I got Notre Dame winning this one. I mean, after that, you know, heartbreaking loss last week against Ohio State, I think they're going to come out and dominate. Sam Hartman's going to throw for a lot of yards. Duke, they have a really good QB in Riley Leonard. He might even go in the first, 3 rounds, but I don't think their defense can keep up with Notre Dame's potent offense. So, what do you got for this one, Gabriel?
Well, I was on College Crossfire earlier this week. You know, be sure to tune in on that on Wednesdays. And my hottest team outside of the top 10 was the Duke Blue Devils, and I'm going to double down, and I will choose Duke to win this weekend. I think the only reason they might win, again, is the home field advantage, playing there in Duke, game day, everything. Everybody's watching that game, so I think Duke's going to be able to pull away with it. Riley Leonard and Jordan Waters have been really good for the offense, and Duke, they started off hot with the great Clemson win. They took care of business against some lesser opponents, and now the gauntlet starts with Notre Dame, NC State, Florida State, and Louisville the next 4 weeks. Those are some tough matchups there for Duke. So, but I think they get started with the win this weekend against Notre Dame.
Yeah, well, good for Duke. They got a lot of good things going down up there. But all right, we're moving into our final game of the week, the most important game to, I think, all of us. We have number 24 Kansas at number 3 Texas. Who do y'all have winning this one?
I'm going to have to go with Texas here. I think they definitely are the better team. Last year in Lawrence, they really went there and killed them. I think they're a more complete team this year, and Kansas was definitely a good team last year. I think they also grew a little bit here, so it's going to be definitely a closer game. I don't think Texas wins by 17-plus points. I think they have a chance to win by 10-plus, maybe 14. But you can't sleep on this Kansas offense. It's very potent. But I think our defense finds a way to kind of shut them down a little bit, and the offense will find a way to get their groove against them. And I think they do win by double digits. So I go with Texas.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that one. I have to just go out here. I think Texas is gonna win, obviously, but I don't know. I can't trust the Longhorns. I feel like it's gonna be a close game. We might start off slow. They've had a tendency to do that, especially in these early games against Big 12 opponents. But we just got to contain lots of checkdowns is what we're gonna be expecting. Got to contain the underneath. Got to contain big plays. I also don't think that Texas is going to cover that 16.5-point spread. I think it's going to be a close one, but I still got Texas pulling out at the end.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go, obviously I believe Texas is going to win, but, 4 games into the season, 2 at home, 2 on the road. They've started slow at home both times against Rice and Wyoming. I was in the student section and people were already panicking that we were going to lose both games. But the other away games, they started off hot. started off real good. I think maybe that trend might continue this week with Kansas coming into town. Kansas is really good on offense. Their defense might be able to keep up with Texas, but I think Texas just has too many weapons on both sides of the ball to, they'll eventually come away with this one in the end. I don't think they'll cover the spread, though, the minus 16.5.
Yeah.
Super excited to go to that game. But that's it for this morning. Be sure to tune in next week at 10 a.m. And be sure to check out our sister shows. We have College Press Box Monday nights at 9:30 p.m. and College Crossfire Wednesday nights at 9. Have a good Friday. Have a good rest of your week. And that's it for the 1-0 Sports Show. Thank you for tuning in.